everybody, and welcome back to my channel. In my last video I told you that in my next video I wanted to talk a little bit about my history with Weight Watchers and talk about the new plan that's supposed to be coming out in a couple of weeks. I wrote down some notes, so I'll probably end up looking more away from the camera while I read them because I am not good at memorizing things, but let's just get into it. So we know that in a few weeks, possibly around November 8th or the 11th, WW, now I keep calling it Weight Watchers. It's supposed to be WW, but I'm just so used to it being Weight Watchers. So if I make that error, you know what I'm talking about. Is changing up their plan again. They do this every few years. Sometimes it's minor changes, little tweaks to the program, and other times it's a big change. Currently, if you're on WW, you know that we have the green plan, we have the blue plan, and we have the purple plan. The big difference between those plans is basically the amount of 0-point foods that are allowed. With green, only fruits and non-starchy vegetables are free. Even though it's a track most things, it allows for the fruits and non-starchy vegetables to be free to encourage you to eat them. Let's see, the blue plan allows for things like eggs and fat-free Greek yogurt, certain types of chicken to not be counted as points, in addition to also fruits and non-starchy veggies that you don't have to count. The purple plan I know the least about, and that plan allows for certain whole grains, potatoes and beans to not be counted as points, as well as lean protein, eggs, and the fruit and non-starchy veggies. These plans replaced the freestyle plan that was basically just the blue plan. So we've had these plans for about 2 years now, I guess. And now Weight Watchers or WW wants to change again. And understandably, those who have been with the plan only for like a couple of years now might be freaking out. And I understand that. I've been through a lot of plan changes myself. You might be wondering how severe the changes will be, if they'll affect your weight loss, if you're going to gain weight. It can be really scary if you've gotten into the groove and then the rug's pulled out. This is what I have heard so far about the new plan. No official word on anything from WW. These are just speculations that have been around YouTube and Instagram and some blogs. People are saying that it's possible the colored plans are leaving in favor of one plan for everyone. Now, in that one plan, which they speculate will be called WW Personal Points, there's been rumors that that name has been trademarked. It's been said that when calculating point values for food, that now calories, protein, fiber, fat, and sugar will be figured in. Also, when figuring out the amount of points daily that you'll need, they factor in your activity level, water, fruit, veggie intake, stuff like that. Each person's points allowance will be completely personal to them. It's been said that 0-point foods will take into consideration foods that you like to eat and eat often. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work because obviously things like chocolate and pizza and most bread, making things like that 0 points doesn't really seem like it's something that could happen, but who knows? There's also supposed to be a more diabetic-friendly plan being released, and I'm really excited about that because if you watched my last video, I was diagnosed type 2 diabetic, in May. I'm only on metformin, not insulin. I'm meeting with a diabetic endocrinologist on November 2nd. Other than that, I haven't really had any like diabetic nutrition education. And I know Weight Watchers or WW, they're not dietitians, they're not doctors, they can't give medical advice. But I'm still interested to see like how they're going to make, how it's going to differ from the current plans that I have always heard, are recommended for diabetics anyway. But I'm curious to see how they're going to tweak it to make it more diabetic friendly. Like, is it going to be a little bit stricter points wise on starchy carbs, stuff like that? Who knows? Also, I don't know for sure if this diabetic plan is going to be a whole separate plan or if it's going to be part of the personal points and it'll just be adjusted and tweaked slightly when you do the quiz or whatever happens. And you say you have diabetes. I don't know. So I'm really curious to see. Let's see. So all that being said, none of that's been confirmed. We know for sure the plan's changing. Although I say we know for sure, but I haven't seen anything concrete saying it's changing. But it's almost like every time rumors of these changes happen, they're always true. So I'm pretty positive that most of this stuff, if not all of it, is true. But we'll just have to wait until I've heard that it could be November 7th or the 11th. We'll just have to see. But I totally understand the freakouts over the plan changes. Like I said, I've been through quite a few myself. People ask why would they change just as I'm getting into the groove, or if the plan is working, why would they change it, period. I'm going to tell you why I think that they continuously change it. So Weight Watchers was founded back in the 60s by a woman named Jean. And back then, they had some interesting rules, much more restrictive than now. I don't know if these are 100% accurate, but I've read these rules on 4 different websites. So there was something like this: eat only the foods listed in your menu plan, limit eggs to 4 to 7 times per week, or maybe it was 4 to 7 eggs per week, and only at breakfast or lunch, never dinner. Not sure why. Only whole grain bread, no rolls, bagels, muffins, crackers, cereals, or any of the good bakery stuff, basically. I've heard that they had to eat liver quite often. No bananas, watermelons, or grapes for fruit. So it was more rigid, definitely more rigid. So that type of plan probably worked for a great many people, and some people do a lot better with kind of a more rigid way of eating. Some people struggle, sometimes I do, obviously, struggle with moderation. Sometimes they do better just restricting. But a lot of people that does not work, or at least not in the long run. But so I think that over the years, Weight Watchers has wanted to develop a plan that you can still lose weight, but also enjoy life a little bit. Maybe make it more sustainable for more people to stick to. Now, I hate it when people, like I've said before, I hate it when people trash different ways of eating and losing weight, like Atkins or keto. Low carb gets a really bad reputation because people say it's not sustainable. It's sustainable for some people, and some people literally have to do it. But I think that for the majority of people, they just really wanted to make it something where you could still eat foods that you liked, just in smaller portions, and still lose weight. So when they've had to tweak it a lot because, well, let me get into my history with Weight Watchers, and I can explain it a little bit better. When I first joined in October of 2002, it was called Winning Points. Everyone was assigned a points range. There were no extra weekly points back then, just a range that you would eat in. You could either eat in the low end of your range every day, or you could eat at the high end. For example, when I started, I was 227 pounds. And again, I was 22 years old. The range for someone who was 225 to 250 pounds was 26 to 31 points. So I could either eat 26 points or I could eat 31 points. In the first week, I dropped like 7 pounds. And immediately dropped down to the next point range, which was someone who weighs 200 to 224 pounds would eat 24 to 29 points. Points values were a lot more lenient back then. It was more similar to calorie counting in the sense that, or in my opinion, they used calories, fat, and fiber to calculate the points. So compared to today's points values for things like pizza and sweets, you could get away with eating more things like that back then and still, not go over your points. You could quite literally eat really anything you wanted, just not in huge quantities. And it's the same now, but back then you could get away with more. They did have healthy guidelines, but it was more like a suggestion. It wasn't even pushed that much at the meetings. It was like drink water, eat fruits and veggies, exercise. But like things like healthy guidelines, super healthy eating, and exercising were not pushed a lot at the meetings back then. It wasn't a super strict thing. We had a points slider back then. It was like a cardboard slider, and inside you had another piece of cardboard, and like it would list like the nutritional information and the points, and you'd like pull it across to calculate how many points something was. And they also had one for exercise, because you could earn activity points, and back then I just exercised. I didn't even count the points. They also had message boards online back then, and you didn't even need to be a member to go to these message boards, and they were snarky as all get out, especially the calling all moms boards. So if you were around back then, you remember that was some pretty interesting reading on those message boards back then. Now, my meeting location was I lived in a rural area. I grew up in Maine, and I was still living there at the time. So my meeting was out of a church. So, it wasn't a center or anything like that. Everything, there was no stickers printed out. Everything was written down on, with pencil right on your little weight booklet thing. So I managed to lose 50. I'm sorry that I keep going like this. I don't know if it's a nervous tic, but so I managed to lose 54 pounds from October of 2002 to June of 2003. I ate Pizza Hut. I had minestrone soup and breadsticks from the Olive Garden, Subway, low-fat hot dogs, low-fat egg rolls, Skinny Cow ice creams. And I don't know if anybody who's younger than in their 30s would remember these or not, but the Wow chips and Doritos that were made with like that Olestra or Olean or whatever, that made them low fat and low calorie, but they gave a lot of people diarrhea. I never had the digestive issues, so I ate a lot of those. They were only like 2 points or something like that, and it tasted to me like I was eating like normal chips. Lean cuisines, Fiber One bars were all the rage, and every meeting, us members were trying to basically find any point friendly junk that we could fit in. A lot of the meeting, they'd have a meeting topic, and usually there'd be a recipe. And oftentimes people would be talking about some junk food or something, and how they wished it was low point, or they'd found another processed low point junk food and stuff. It's really funny. I don't know. And anybody that did Weight Watchers back in the early 2000s, you might have been familiar with Dottie's Weight Loss Zone website. It was really funny because that website, and it's still running today, I think. I haven't been to it in quite a while, but like way back then, like it was a really good resource because it would list all the points for the restaurants and stuff. But it was a little bit taboo to bring up at the meetings because it was not like an official Weight Watchers website, and basically they didn't want you relying on Dottie's points in case they were inaccurate and stuff like that. But so here's the thing. You know, like I said, I lost 54 pounds. I looked amazing. I looked like I weighed less than that. But again, here's the thing. I was getting tons of movement in at my job. I worked retail. I wasn't a cashier. I was moving all over the store, like constantly. Like I can't even imagine if I had a Fitbit or something back then, how many steps I got in during the day. And 5 days a week, I was at the gym in the morning for 2 hours, and every night I was dancing to music. And I was 22. I lost that weight, but I was living on low point junk. A banana was 2 points. So was a skinny cow. So was a serving of frozen French fries. I was choosing the skinny cow ice cream sandwich over the banana. And it's not like Weight Watchers said eat only junk and steered us clear of eating fruit. It's just that a lot of us did that on our own. Not everyone, but I know a lot of us did. So I think that with each change in plan, they tried to slowly guide us into a more health conscious mindset. Like, yes, you can eat a skinny cow. Yes, you can eat pizza, but hey, fruit too. And that's why eventually fruits were made 0 points, because people were choosing junk food that was 2 points over a banana because they didn't want to use 2 points on a banana, even though I'm sorry if you hear kittens, even though they knew they needed to eat a banana. So I do think that Weight Watchers is trying to not only help its members to learn to balance their diets instead of fitting in the fruit, eat the fruit and fit in the pizza, stuff like that. They're trying to improve their image too, because so many people not on Weight Watchers tend to slam the program for relying on low-fat junk food. So they're really trying hard to help us and themselves as a brand. So after losing 54 pounds, I ended up getting pregnant. By the time I gave birth, Weight Watchers had transitioned to what they call the Flex and Core plans. You could choose which plan to follow, and each one had these new extra weekly points. I believe that all that truly was, and still is the point ranges from the previous plans mixed up in a different way. But for me, it's always been kind of a mind you-know-what, and I've struggled mentally with extra weekly points. I think I'm a person that needs to eat most, if not all of them, to lose weight. But I have found that if I try to eat them and all the activity points that I've earned, I basically maintain. So the flex points was just a daily point value. If I remember correctly, it was calculated the same as before with fat and fiber and calories, and then you had the extra weekly points. Core introduced a new concept of not having to count certain foods, such as lean protein, plain oats, plain shredded wheat, fruit, sugar-free pudding, certain types of popcorn, lean ground beef, like a bunch of stuff like that. And then you had, I believe it was 35 weekly points that you could use to count on non-core food items like a bun, a bread bun, if you wanted to make like a homemade grilled chicken sandwich with the chicken that was 0 points, and then you just put it in between the bun and count the bun as points. I had success losing 15 pounds on the core plan, but then I decided I didn't like that meeting, but it was the only one near where I lived at the time, so I stopped going. Said I was going to do it on my own, and then I didn't. This started a cycle where I would join a meeting, lose 20 or so pounds, and then quit for whatever reason. Not because the program didn't work, but because I was lazy or I just wanted to eat whatever I want and not worry about it. But I always ended up going back to a meeting and joining again. I've lived in a lot of different places in like the last 17, 18 years. And I lost my place. Oh yeah. And I've lost weight with winning points, flex and core, momentum, points plus. I think that other than the core plan, points plus was the first tracking points plan that had fruit as a 0-point food. Smart points, freestyle, and the current plans. I've lost weight on all of them. The problem is mindset. My mindset always does me in. I suffer from a very bad all or nothing attitude. Basically, like if I end up giving into a craving and I overeat, instead of saying, okay, you did that, let's stop and let's move on, I feel guilty and I want to continue it. Sorry. And that always gets me. And that can turn into, if you don't move on, that can turn into a couple bad days, which turns into a gain, and you feel guilty, and the cycle can continue until you just give up. And it's not supposed to be that way. You should just let it go and move on. Let's see. My biggest hurdle, and it's a huge one, that I have had in the last 5 or 6 years is I've developed kind of a compulsion where, and I blame social media, but it's my fault for looking and seeking it out. I don't obviously we don't like to call WW a diet, but I call this diet hopping. Ever since and keto has been around for many, 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 many years. It's not a fad. It's been around for ever. But it's become kind of a buzzword with social media. It's newer to social media, I guess. And it's huge. And the science behind it makes sense to me. In my head, though, I know that I cannot be that restrictive. I have tried a million times. Sorry about the sound. But there is something about keto and thinking, this is going to help me with my hunger. I might lose weight a little bit faster. This might make sense for me because I'm diabetic and I have insulin resistance. And I think that is true if you can stick to it. I can't stick to it, but I keep trying. For the last 5 or 6 years, I would bounce back and forth between keto and Weightwatchers. And what would happen is I would say, I'm going to do Weightwatchers because that's what works for me when I stick to it. And I would start counting points. I would lose a couple pounds, not very fast, but I would lose. I would then be scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and I would come across some success videos of friends or strangers who have lost such and such amount of weight in such and such time doing keto. And then I would second guess what I was doing because I want that. I want to finally be rid of the weight. I don't want to feel hungry all the time. I need to do that. Well, I would try that for a day. Oh, no, hold on. Before I would try that, the night before, I would use that all or nothing attitude. Well, I'm going to start keto tomorrow. Let me just eat whatever the heck I want in mass quantities tonight. I do that. Then the next morning, I would try keto. By the evening, it wasn't working. Well, I'm going to get back on Weightwatchers tomorrow. Well, since I'm going to get back on Weightwatchers tomorrow and I denied myself some yumminess today, let me just eat whatever I want in whatever quantities that I want, and I'm going to start Weightwatchers tomorrow. That doesn't work. And I would just, I don't know what's wrong with me. I would obsessively, compulsively do this over and over and over again. Even when, I don't know, it might be something subconsciously where I was thinking, hey, if I think I'm going to do this, it's an excuse that I can eat whatever I want. And unfortunately, that doesn't cause weight loss. So, but here's what I know. I know that I cannot stick to super low carb. I think that it works for a great many people. It just doesn't work for me, and I need to, as I keep saying, stay in my own freaking lane, not compare my weight loss to anybody else's, and just be happy for people that are successful no matter what they're doing. Yeah, let's see. So I had actually joined Weightwatchers and started the green plan when they branched out to the 3 different plans. I had done that and I lost almost 40 pounds just shy of the pandemic. Then the pandemic hit and I gained it all back plus. And this is a scary thing. I found myself in January of this year at 301 pounds. And I have always said to myself, if I ever reach 300 pounds, like, I don't think I can come back from that. Like, it's over. Like, I'm just going to keep gaining and gaining and gaining, and I'm going to be depressed. I can't come back from that. But I hit 301 pounds, and when that happened, I was like, yeah, F that. I wasn't going to settle for that. So I am now 262, or at least I was 2 weeks ago at the doctor's office. My floors are super uneven. It's really annoying, and I don't necessarily trust any of the numbers that the scale says here. I'm trying to figure that out. Maybe I can get like a board. I've heard you can get a board and set it down anywhere and then place a scale on top of that and it'll make it even. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I do have an diabetic endocrinologist appointment on November 2nd, and I'll be able to see what that scale says. So I'm hoping that I've dropped a couple pounds by then. I'd be happy to have dropped 1 pound by then. Could I have lost more this year? Absolutely, I think so. But if you watched my last video, you heard me say that at the start of January, when I started Weightwatchers again, shortly after I was hit with a bunch of health issues. I was, over the next couple months, I was diagnosed with diabetes. I dealt with thyroid cancer and surgery to have my thyroid taken out, and then radioactive iodine therapy. When I was put on thyroid meds. So I was stressed out with all these appointments and all this stuff going on. And then also we were gearing up for a big move immediately after my radioactive iodine therapy. So, sorry for the train. So it was a stressful time. And I'd say that I really probably tracked a little more than half of the time, so it was not super consistent Had I been more consistent, yeah, I think I'd have lost more. But you know what? I'm happy with what I've lost and that I've continued to lose after having my thyroid taken out and put on levothyroxine. So I'm happy with that. You know, I could have not lost anything, or I could have gained weight. So, you know, I'm just gonna keep trucking along one day at a time. I'm excited for the new changes. So everybody take a deep breath for the changes that are coming. We don't know 100% what they are yet, but let's just keep tracking. Take it one day at a time. Until next time, you guys.